Welcome to this edition of Curating Culpeper, where we explore and introduce you to the fascinating history that surrounds us here in Culpeper County, Virginia. I am Morgan Pierce, Executive Director of the Museum of Culpeper History. We have partnered with the Culpeper Media Network to bring a series of local history videos direct to you. Today, we are going to take a look at Culpeper's colonial past. We're going to do so by visiting one of Culpeper's oldest houses, the Burgundine House, and discussing the origins of Culpeper, Virginia. We are now at the Burgundine House, which may have been built about the time Culpeper County was formed. Due to an increase in population, Culpeper County was carved out of Orange County and chartered in 1749. The Virginia General Assembly chose the name Culpeper to honor the Culpeper family name. Lord Fairfax, who at the time held the grant to the land on which Culpeper sits, was the grandson of Lord Thomas Culpeper, who was Virginia's colonial governor from 1677 to 1683. After Culpeper County was formed, a young friend of Lord Fairfax was hired as its surveyor. This young man, who took on his first surveying job, was none other than George Washington, who remarked of the site where the town would eventually be laid out as having a high and pleasant situation. Perhaps one of Washington's first duties was to lay out the courthouse complex. This was originally located here on Davis Street, between Main and East Streets, with the jail, stocks, and gallows, which were erected in 1752. At this time, with the court conducting business, the town was bustling with activity, and in 1759, the town was officially established. When Culpeper County was newly formed, there were more than 5,000 residents living and working on the land. Approximately 1/3 of these were enslaved persons, harvesting tobacco and grains on the plantations and farms. Closer to town, there were much smaller properties, and it is quite possible the Burgundine House was one of these very early houses dating to Culpeper's formation. Inside the house, you get an idea as to what life was like in 18th century Culpeper. Today, we welcome Susan Williams, who's going to give you a brief history of the house and let you know how it can be visited.
Welcome to the Burgundine home. It has been here since 1749 when the County of Culpeper was created. It was first owned by Robert Coleman, who owned the town of Culpeper itself, the property. He built the home. A lot of business was conducted in the Burgundine because there wasn't a courthouse until 1759 when they chose this for the county seat and became the town of Culpeper. This is the lot it was built on, and the wood you see in the house was probably cut from the lot to make room for the house to be constructed. It's gone down through various hands after Coleman. Our famous general of the Revolutionary War, Colonel Stevens, owned the home. It passed down through to Mrs. Allen. She owned it during the 1860s. Upon her death, she gave the property to 5 nieces, and it actually split the little home in 2, as there was an addition on the far side. Mrs. Allen's one granddaughter was Genevieve Burgundine. Well, her daughter, Mrs. Elizabeth Burgundine Coons, is the one who gave it to the town of Culpeper in 1966. That is where the name for the home came from, was Mrs. Burgundine, who had owned the home. It's a unique little house. We are open for tours Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now. 10 to 5 Friday and Saturday, and 1 to 5 on Sundays. There is no charge for touring here. We do not have a time limit, and we welcome everybody of all ages, children, adults, whatever, to come in and see what life was like, not only during the 1700s, which is the downstairs, but the upstairs is set up for the 1800s. So we try to cover a lot of the little house's history in a very small building.
Well, that was fascinating, learning about the history of the Burgundine House. We now have just one more stop planned before we wrap up this episode of Curating Culpeper. So come along. We now find ourselves at the Fort Germanna Visitor Center. While we have crossed into Orange County, we are but a stone's throw from the Rapidan River, separating it from Culpeper County. Many of Culpeper's early 18th century residents had actually been living in the area for some time prior to Culpeper's existence. Earlier in the 18th century, colonial governor Alexander Spotswood developed Fort Germanna here just on the other side of the Rapidan River. Spotswood brought two different groups of people from Germany to settle and work the land in 1714 and 1717. When the service contracts for these settlers expired, they moved and spread out amongst the Piedmont counties, with many of these settlers and their descendants establishing homes and communities in Culpeper, Fauquier, and Madison counties. Many of these family names still exist today in village and road names, and even amongst our own neighbors here. There's a lot of exciting things happening here at Fort Germanna, including the ongoing excavations of Governor Spotswood's house, the Enchanted Castle. In the 1720s, the wooden palisaded Fort Germanna was dismantled and Spotswood built the Enchanted Castle, so named due to its massive size and extreme remoteness. Its foundation still exists, and this is how archaeologists learned of its size and were able to create a depiction of the house. The dig site is open to the public on occasion during the summer months, and it is definitely worth your time to visit. For more information, please visit the websites you see on the screen. And to learn more about Culpeper history, please visit the Museum of Culpeper History located in Culpeper's train depot, or visit our website at www.culpepermuseum.com. Throughout the year, we offer rotating exhibits and programs interpreting the different people, places, and events that have shaped the Culpeper we know today. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Curating Culpeper, and we'll see you next time. Until then, keep making history.